Hi everyone, welcome to my desk. Today I want to talk about the Sheaffer Snorkel fountain pen. This pen was introduced in 1952 and was in production for only 7 years till 1959. It's really well known for its intricate ink filling system and has been labeled to be the most complicated fountain pen ever produced. It was a special pen for its time. It cost a bit more than a normal fountain pen would, and you'll see many with engravings of names or initials. They were bought as presents for life's many milestones, like graduations, weddings, promotions, etc. Sheaffer did pull out all the stops while designing and manufacturing this pen. There were two big things happening in the world at the time concerning pens. One was the Parker 51, which had already been released a decade ago and was very successful worldwide. The other thing was that a much improved ballpoint pen had been introduced in the mid-1940s, and they were fast becoming more favorable with the people. You would think maybe it's because they were cheaper, but no, at first ballpoint pens were expensive, costing even more than these complicated Sheaffer Snorkels, which were nice pens to begin with. Ballpoint pens were favorable because they were easy to use. No ink spilling, filling, wiping, or blotting was necessary. So as an answer to these threats, Sheaffer went to town with their engineering team. They wanted to deliver a knockout punch, and they did pretty good with this Snorkel. The mechanical engineers at Sheaffer wanted to solve one big problem. They wanted to make the fountain pen a cleaner experience for the user. This is the only fountain pen ever produced that did not need the nib to be submerged in the ink in order to fill it. The way you fill one of these pens is by unscrewing the back end of the pen, which extends the snorkel in the front that is hiding inside the feed of the pen. Then you dip the snorkel in an ink bottle, then you extend the back and then push it back in. Hold it in the ink for about 10 seconds, lift it up, and then screw the back end in again. And you'll see that the snorkel will retract back into the feed inside the pen, and you're good to go. You don't have to reassemble the pen like in most other pens you might have disassembled the barrel. It was quite ingenious, but you could imagine how complex this system would be to mass produce and have it be reliable and not frustrate your customers, and also make a profit for the company at the same time. But it did just that. The pen was a success for Sheaffer. The filling system is considered to be very reliable. Anyways, let's talk about the nib. This is a palladium silver Triumph style nib with its conical kind of shape. They also had a version with a regular open style nib, like this one here. Palladium silver is their base model nib for this pen. They also had a 14 karat gold nib on the higher tier models of this pen. It is a fairly stiff nib, but has a bit of initial softness when you first put it to paper. The feedback while writing is very smooth and crisp, somewhat like a pencil. It doesn't feel like a nail, like a fine Japanese nib, but it also doesn't have much flex like the European nibs to have any significant line variation. It seems American pens were trying to carve out their own niche here. I have a fine nib here. It feels really good to write with. The tiny bit of flip up at the end of the nib gives it a great feel while writing, and I think is the reason for the softness you feel on the paper. Comparing this to the Parker 51, I think the plastics on the Parker 51 were better. It had a more luxurious feel, even though it was released much earlier than the Snorkel. I think the overly complicated design, which made it so cool, was also its Achilles heel. It gave it a personality, but not a fashion sense. Because the functional design of the pen was so complex, there needed to be threads and grooves all over this pen, both outside and inside. One thing fits into the other just right. So they had to go with a plastic that could be milled easily and wouldn't crack. The Parker 51 material just needed to look good. It was more luxurious, but also more brittle. You see many Parker 51 pens today with cracked or broken barrels, which is not that common on the Snorkels. You can find these pens in eBay mostly, and there are some stores online that will service them and sell them to you in a perfect working condition. It will last many years. I would say getting one in a serviced, good condition should be possible to find under $100, but certain rarer colors could easily go for a few $100s. But this is a great pen if you want to test your hand at a fountain pen, or if you want to just experience an older style of pen. It's a good choice. Okay, that's it from me for this time. Ciao.